Okay, it seems like we're live. Okay. Ooh. Live. We're about 15 seconds early, but that's all right. I'm going to get us up on the screen. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Lightbox podcast. I still don't like the word podcast. I still say podcast, even though we're videoing English.
Exploiting a visual medium.
That's right. Podcast is fine.
Me England good, yes. So in terms of where we're at, let's talk about Wenimate. So Wenimate, we're the Wenimate Lightbox podcast. We get together once a month. Yeah, well, I'm going to do that too. So, yeah. We're the Wenimate Lightbox podcast, and we're about sharing information, acting as a little bit of a talk and a bit of a fun time discussion about animation in the Perth local region. First, before we get into any heavy business, I'm going to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, there we go.
As we're streaming on YouTube, we should probably state that this is adult-oriented content.
Yeah.
So 15 or viewer discretion is advised.
Yes. We may occasionally say naughty words, but not within the first 3 minutes. So.
That's right. You can bundle the kids off to bed.
It's not like we're monetized anyway, but still.
No. You can always lock them up in the basement while we're on.
We don't have enough content to be monetized.
This is true.
Yes.
That's true. Let's see. So, the Lightbox podcast. Let's
so, chairperson, what's on tonight?
Let's do it. Oh yeah. There is a few things that we want to talk about. Just in terms of Wenimate business. As a first point, I'm adding this to our list. Sorry, David. I'm already throwing it out the window.
Oh good. Go for it.
Obviously, the committee have been relatively quiet, other than the three of us doing the podcast for the last little bit. We are going to be looking for some committee members because we kind of need the extra help to get stuff done. All of us have pretty heavy full-time jobs, and everything that we organize becomes nearly a full-time job by itself without the support and assistance of the local animation community. So if you like getting involved in our events and want to potentially have a say in it, put your hand in the ring and have a chat with us and potentially become a member of the Wenimate committee. So you can get in contact with us through wenimate.org.au, our website, or you can hook us in on the Facebook page or the Facebook group, of which we have two. So the two groups.
Yeah, we do.
So very, very cool. So we might as well get on with the bit of the show, considering I've just spent 5 minutes talking and I don't know how I did that. It's time is fleeting.
That's right.
Madness takes control. Okay, let's have a look at the 330 awards. Okay, coming up, we'll be putting out the registrations soon for the 330 awards. All the information and the links will be posted on our regular locations. It's looking to be a fun year. We will be potentially floating around several of the expos as Wanimate this year. So you may see us at either Supernova or Pixel Expo or Oz Comic Con, depending on where we end up falling. But you can come in and say hi to us and talk about the animation community and some very cool stuff. Yeah. News. Oh, and news. So we got some interesting news. I wouldn't say good news or well, there's some sad news and there's some
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the Justin Roiland thing. Do you want to talk us through that, David?
Oh, it's not much I can really say, but the co-creator of Rick and Morty has been officially cut from Adult Swim Productions moving forward. So there's what's it? Workplace bullying.
There was some misconduct stuff as well, and I'm assuming there was also some other potential charges which we alleged.
Yeah,
Wow.
So far alleged. So, but while they're being dealt with, we're going to have different sounding Rick and Mortys. So,
A different sounding Rick and Morty's, indeed. But
That's
I've heard some good impersonations of Rick and Morty. So, but the interesting thing is the cascade that came from that. So Justin Roiland has been essentially let go from Rick and Morty, which obviously is his big flagship show. Yeah. And I really, along the lines of, I really feel bad for Dan Harmon. He never has that. I mean, Dan has his own controversies going on, but when it comes to his shows, there's always something because of someone else.
There's one crew member that's going to arc up some way, isn't there?
Yeah. So poor Dan Harmon. Hopefully this continues and it doesn't really hurt his show down the track. But
it's a bit like Alex Proyas losing actors.
But we're going to have the. Sorry.
If they can get Christopher Lloyd to do Rick, would.
Chef kiss. If they can get
that would definitely
Lloyd
work.
And
very
Michael
meta.
J. Fox.
I'd watch that a few times.
I'm there. I'm there. I think that should be our first post.
Or maybe someone like Danny DeVito or something like that.
Well, Danny DeVito's new show is out on Disney Star.
Oh, wow.
I think it is, where he plays the devil, and the show's about his emo daughter. Who is living with her mum on Earth due to divorce proceedings? So
oh wow!
Okay.
That sounds great.
So it's quite a fun little show. I've seen
the cultural walls are alive and well.
Yeah, it's definitely. Star is really nailing it with a couple of shows. But back to Justin Roiland in terms of that. So he's been cut from Solar Opposites and Koala Man, which Koala Man. If you saw Koala Man over the holiday break when it was released, so nice.
This is Stan, right?
It is.
Disney.
Disney.
It is Australian Culture Shock, the animated series. It's so good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it really lays on the cheese. Now there are a lot of Eastern States animation, Australian references compared to Western Australia, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. But so we've lost Justin Roiland from all those shows, and we'll see how that all pans out in the future. Obviously, the matter of any crimes he may or may not have committed is irrelevant to the animation that has been done. But there's always that ethics talk where you is it the artist or is it the art?
Well, I think people have been talking about Wagner for at least a century.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Anywho, so Any other animations people have been watching? Oh, any other news?
Hold a sec, we've still got some news we still need to go.
Still got some news.
Oh my god! Well, we
Yeah,
lost to George Miller, didn't we? We're down to one now.
I'll jump to the last one because you can do the next one.
Yeah, I can do the next one.
The Venture Brothers movie is finally happening, people.
Oh, it's still happening.
I'm so excited. Jackson Public tweeted out the first image from the upcoming film.
Steady on.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Well, in my formative years as an early animator, the Venture Brothers was kind of that show that I watched, and because it riffs off and is a total piss take of. There's that word that's going to get us cut from. A total piss take of all those 80s cartoons that I watched growing up.
You mean 60s cartoons?
Yeah, go back to the 60s as well. So
they added the 80s stuff later.
Yeah,
it's definitely 60s.
Oh, and they are brutal with it as well. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what they do with the movie. I'm hoping to see my favorite characters again. Should be very fun, and hopefully they can wrap up the story, and should be very, very cool. Anyway, Dave.
Okay, now sad news. Leiji Matsumoto, so anime and manga creator of epic space sagas including Galaxy Express 999 and Space Pirate Harlock. Galaxy Express you may recognize from the Daft Punk video One More Time. He was also one of the co-creators of Space Battleship Yamamoto, so Star Blazers.
Blazers, nice.
So he passed away a few days ago at the age of 85.
Oh,
That's very sad.
85, really?
I think Space Pirate Captain Harlock is available on YouTube.
If not, it's probably available on Tubi. It should be relatively easy to source.
Easy to find.
There's various there's various takes on Space Pirate Captain Harlock.
I know the guy. Yes, I've never seen him.
You would, yeah.
Did I see that Star Blazers was out there somewhere as well, in a reasonable quality version?
Well, from the original 80s.
You've had the original 80s was released on DVD. Oh god, 20 years back. Still
78. I think it's 78.
No, but
79 to 84 according to the
initial release. But we've recently had a new take on the series, which has covered both the story arcs of the original Star Blazers. Called Spaceship Yamamoto 2199, which is an updated version of it, which is spectacular as far as the animation is concerned.
Cool.
Worth a look if you can track that down. It's getting a bit harder to find that in Australia, but you still can get international copies on Blu-ray from UK that I believe are either region-free or tri-regional copies.
So you have to look internationally for the DVDs. It's not something you can get through Madman.
I think Madman's sold out their stock. I managed to pick up I managed to pick up a couple recently at one of their sales. But,
David's shelf, which is right next to him.
I'll come back.
What you're not seeing is him knock over all his Transformers models.
I've learned. I've moved them. They're upstairs now on the DTOF. So lesson learned.
There you go.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So upcoming things going on. Let's talk about the immersive stories at Event Nalu. They're going to be showing all the Oscar-nominated short films, including the animations. It's all done as a single screening from multiple single screenings of all the shorts together. for Friday 3rd to Sunday 5th of March and Friday 10th to Sunday 12th of March. So on the weekends, Fridays through Sundays, starting in a couple of weeks. So I'll definitely be popping by.
Also check some of the other cinemas as well. I think Luna might also be screening them.
Oh, nice. Okay, so those of you who live in the southern reaches of the city, like Fremantle, might be able to catch it down there. So you definitely things to see. Cool. What's Pink Fong?
The person responsible for Baby Shark.
Oh.
So yeah, it's for the kids, but it's technically animated. So yep.
Okay.
A sing along movie on Thursday, March the 2nd for a limited time. So definitely one for the younger generation.
I haven't said a word.
Yep.
Okay.
Do.
So yeah, sing along movie 2, Wonder Star concert.
Nice. Okay. Pink Fong Sing Along Movie 2 Wonder Star Concert. That's incredible. That's a title.
That's a YouTube stream.
Yeah, true. Okay, so there is also some anime special screenings.
Yep, Demon Slayer, which to the Swordsmith Village. So Thursday, 2nd of March to Sunday, 5th of March at Event of Lou, Whitfords, and Greater Union Morley. Demon Slayer is one of those that I haven't caught up with yet, but I really got to.
In terms of that, who or what is Demon Slayer? Tell us about it, David.
Oh, I don't have too much knowledge there. It's a fantasy, other than it's a fantasy series based on Demon Hunter and I believe a controlled demon or spirit. So yeah, that's so similar. If you can imagine a Japanese version of The Witcher done as anime, then you've pretty much
okay. No, fair enough.
Got at least enough groundwork to go with it.
I'm sure.
It's one of those I haven't catch up with yet.
I'm sure after seeing this, many of my students will say, "Okay, Tanya," and try to explain the story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll be able to explain it better.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds a bit like Ninja Scrolls. That's going back a little while now.
Wow.
Ooh, probably it's not as adult orientated as Ninja Scrolls. So yeah.
Okay. That's not for the faint-hearted. My brothers showed me some Ninja Scroll.
Oh, it's crazy stuff.
Oh my!
It's intense. There was a period there was a period where that stuff was really big. So things like what was it, Sin City or something? No, what was it? There was
Wicked City.
City, that's it. Wicked City, and there was a whole pile of demon films, and every other one seemed to rip off all the great riffs of The Thing or something like that.
During the dark 90s. Yeah.
Well, a lot of body horror elements too. If you're lucky, body horror elements combined with heavy sexual elements. If you're really unlucky, I'm looking at you, Legend. If you have a fiend, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I was just going to say Legend.
Den Tartar and backwards facing legs. It's like, okay, that's me done.
Okay. Yes.
That's enough of that.
To those of you who enjoy such things, please enjoy. Okay. Also, what else? Our special screenings. Disney's doing some sing-alongs, which is more my type of event. Screenings on weekends through March. They're doing Encanto on the 4th and 5th, Moana on the 11th and 12th, The Lion King on 18th and 19th. Hearing people butcher Lady Smith Black Mombasa would be amazing. And Frozen on the 25th and 26th, which is one that I probably wouldn't go to, even though I do like the original Frozen. But
I'm just wondering how many parents are going to so soulless when they sing that song, because they've heard it how many times?
Well, you know what I say to them. Let it go. Let it go.
Oh no, there is no escape.
There is no escape.
It should be
Okay.
fun. It should be fun.
Should be fun. You know what? I saw Encanto and what's there singing in it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go rewatch it because I have gone blank. But yeah, of course, Moana definitely worth it for the shiny crab.
Oh,
skins.
goodness, yeah.
Tell us about the Magician's Elephant.
Again, not too much I can provide on this one. It's an animation coming out on the 14th of March from Netflix. It's a young child is tasked with 3 impossible tasks to acquire an elephant to help save his sister. So
it's an Animalogic production that's been in production now for a very long time. They only just broke. I only found it. I mean, I knew they were working on it, but I found they've only just announced it a couple of days ago, and basically a lot of people I used to work with are saying, "Oh, finally, I can talk about it." So that's all I know at this point.
Okay, so
it's all beautifully polished and immaculately executed. So it's a typical Animalogic project.
Okay.
We're going to have to get your inside knowledge there to find out some
I'm on the outside looking in on this one, I think, but we'll see what happens.
Details on that. You're okay.
But the renders of the elephant look gorgeous.
Okay, there is a networking event. So SAE Perth are running a networking event coming. If you're quick and or you later on watch the recording of this video on YouTube, you can pause it and get that little QR code and get to the RSVP. You have to RSVP to go. It is a free event. Basically, animators and computer graphics related industries coming together to have a bit of a chinwag and a chat, and Wanamate will be there representing. So I will be there wearing my Wanamate shirt.
Yes, I might get out the old Wanamate skivvy. Crikey.
Yeah.
It'll be like the Wiggles.
I'm gonna have to find it because I haven't found it in a while.
Yes.
I've got my Luby dress, so I could do that. Nice.
On to the calendar it goes.
Onto the calendar indeed.
I must RSVP for that.
Yes. So get along to it. Should be fun. Right. So we promised you the best TV of 2022, animated TV that is. Let's talk about the honorable mentions. David and I discussed this literally non-stop since since we were talking about the movies, and even leaking back before then. It's been a back and forth, and neither of us have seen everything. And
some of these are almost impossible to see in Australia legally. Pantheon, I'm looking at you. And season 2's been vaulted, so
okay. So I can't talk for Pantheon. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen a single episode of it, but the buzz is amazing on it. It's supposed to be fantastic, and in Australia, there's virtually no legal way of seeing it.
The trailer looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's near cyberpunk. Would you describe it?
Emergent AIs and that kind of thing. So it's definitely cyberpunky in that regard. It's got a really nice style to it as well. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of keen to see it. I'm not really.
I hope it actually gets a proper release of some description, not just locked away.
It's kind of sitting there in the honorable mentions instead of Cyberpunk, because none of the three of us have seen all the way through Cyberpunk. Lindsay and I have just touched the edges of Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, I bounced off the surface like a stone, and get first impressions really at this point. It's not too bad, but it feels very teenage, and it doesn't. I mean, growing up with it back in the day, it was always like a weird commentary, cutting edge thing of what the future was about to hold, and that was like 30 years ago. So the future's come, gone, went, changed into future permutations, rearranged itself again, turned itself inside out. Now it's right at the moment, AIs are about to rearrange it again.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2020 was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it took longer to make that game than Cyberpunk actually existed, I think. But not
true.
being that sarcastic either, it was a very short-lived thing, very much a product of its time. I guess, with the rise of home computing, I guess.
It's definitely getting a bit of a resurgence, and it's kind of being reskinned. Classic Cyberpunk was always about, the impending doom of corporations getting too much power. We're living in that now, and
it's about as glamorous as an old sock, isn't it?
Yeah, we're living in the cyberpunk age. We just don't have robot arms, flying cars, or
all those fantastically glamorous fascistic architecture things.
But we have
just got gentrification. Well, that's true.
This is true.
I think mobiles are probably more cyberpunk than cyberpunk could have ever possibly imagined.
Like Cyberpunk and Shadowrun didn't have mobile phones in the original.
Mobile phones killed cyberpunk. Everyone was predicting implants and bullshit like that. It turned out actually implanted chips to spy on your every move. No, it's a mobile phone, and you're going to be buying it and opting in.
Implanted cellular device. Yeah.
I think not. But anyway, and the cyberpunks, it's
the multiple attempts. Yeah. The multiple attempts to do virtual reality as a like a big Matrix style or the internet in that style is still, people are still attempting to do it. I reckon achievably it's probably 30 years in our future.
Well, look what it turned into. Zuckerberg's Meta. Oh my God. Come back, Hollywood, from the 90s. All is forgiven. I'll watch The Lawnmower Man again and put up with Zuckerberg's universe. Seriously. It's just so meaty. What astonishes me about that is the amount of money and resources and time and effort that have gone into that. And the result is so profoundly mediocre. It's just seriously. I think our Cert 4s would make something with far more expression than that. Seriously, they would. It'd be all over the shop, but it'd be far more expressive. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Cert 4s have imagination. I
do. Even Teams has more imagination, I think. So certainly more engaging. Fucking hell. Yeah. Sorry, kids. Technical term there. It's the future is now, and it's like, come back, Nintendo. All's forgiven. So.
Okay,
anyway.
So also on our honorable mentions is Inside Job. A really cool conspiracy series. It jumps all over the place. It's got some great characters. It's a little bit
has some great moments.
But it doesn't make our top 5.
I think
it's great.
It's all right, but it's no Venture Brothers. It feels a bit Saturday Night Live. A string of themed episodes with a bunch of skits strung together. And it definitely has some great moments. I love the idea that, I think in the first series, one of the climaxes was they had a Hollow Earth thing going on with the Kraken living at the South Pole or the North Pole, but they were getting thwarted by the fact that there was a whole bunch of flat earthers getting in the way. The flat earthers were idiots because they believed that the world was flat when everyone knew it was actually hollow. I thought that was a really nice touch. Probably their best moment, I think. It's really good.
And a slight spoiler here, this might not be the only workplace comedy animation that appears on our list.
True.
Yeah. So, I'd say it's pretty good, but it's a bit sophomorphic. I think a bit more rendering down, a bit more development. I think would be a really, really cool show. But at the moment, it's servicing a Netflix demographic. I think that's what they're doing, and they're stamping these things out pretty fast.
Infinity Train season 4.
Oh God. Okay. Infinity Train. It is an amazing series. Again, people, if you've got Stan, watch it. But few of us have Stan. Season 4 is probably the weakest of the 4 seasons, and it's the one that the show got cancelled on, unfortunately, before it got vaulted everywhere else by the Warner Discovery merger. Hopefully it might get picked up by Tubi or somewhere like that so we can at least see it. But it's an amazing series. Season 4 was one of those seasons that was building towards something, and it continues with Infinity Train's teaching of empathy and how to look at other people's points of view, which is a message that we really, really need in this day
These
and age.
days, yeah.
Yeah, and previous seasons have been fantastic. 2 and 3 are just great seasons, teaching how to have empathy for the oppressed, and then how to, as an oppressor, actually examine and change your point of view. It's a really, really interesting series.
It really digs deep, and it actually hits fairly hard. It's really designed to drag you as the audience and the character through the ringer, and it does it initially in subtle ways. Each season basically deals with a new story arc and new characters. The first season follows a girl who's dealing with family breakup, and her stress is dealing with that. And then
we should probably say about the premise. They're brought upon this train, and the train has different carriages that the person passes through. They also have a number on them that changes and goes down as they start making revelations about themselves and the problems that they're facing. Or it can go up if you do the wrong thing as well. And I can't say too much more because it'll be spoiler for season 1. But each season is a different. It's kind of an anthology series, as each season is a different set of characters that are introduced, and often in the previous series, and we follow them through that entire season.
It's great.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's a really nice season. I'd say season 4 is the weakest of the seasons.
It is, but it's building towards something, I feel. I think we might have seen one of the big players in the overall arc of Infinity Train being built up towards in one of the following seasons.
Yeah. Which is kind of why it's fallen on the honourable mentions, despite the first 3 seasons being strong.
Yeah, they're exceptionally strong.
And really unique comparatively. Also on the honourable mentions this season's Rick and Morty, which has actually kind of elevated a little bit. They went way more meta than they have previously.
Which is saying something.
Yes.
That's something, yeah.
Well, instead of being meta about geek culture, they were being meta about the structure of writing and the story behind. Right, so they're really delving into Rick and Morty at that level. Multiple episodes deal with like writers and story arcs and actually analyze them and really
Joseph Campbell's ghosts, for God's sake.
Joseph Campbell's ghost is definitely in there. It's fun. It's fun.
The author. It's all about me, says the author. Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty good. I can recommend it.
It was a great show. So we'll see how they go in the future. But yes, once again, on the honourable mentions. Also on the honourable mentions is...
Gundam Witch from Mercury. So the latest of the Gundam series. This one's interesting because it's, as often happens with Gundam, a completely different universe than the original one that it started off. But it's taking a look at students learning to be mecha pilots, but they also represent corporations. Slights of honor are settled through jewels in mecha, and it also reflects on the corporations that sponsor them as the scions of those corporations. So it seems like it's this traditional sort of teen drama to start with, but it gets very dark and very, very anti-corporate, anti-war, traditional themes that are often in many of the Gundam pieces, and it gets bloody. So bloody that episode 12, which hasn't been released for Australian audiences yet, but anyone that's been on the internet in any sort of Gundam fan would have seen the offending image that shocked a lot of people at the end. And so you've got the original UC fans posting like 2-minute clips of this is every war crime, major war crime committed in the original Gundam series in chronological order, stretching through for 2 whole minutes of it. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So heavy hitting Gundam then.
Yeah, starts off as light sort of teen adventure, but yeah, it'll get. And I guess the other 2 things I should mention. First time, well, 3 things. First time a person of color has been a major protagonist first for Gundam series, I believe. First time a woman has been the protagonist of a Gundam, like the chief protagonist of the Gundam series. Yes, there have been previous female Gundam pilots, but this is the central focus. And there is it's hard to cure her as a lesbian, but or bisexual, because we don't really know Soeta's orientation as of yet. But she's involved. She's because of events. She's to be married to a girl who's the daughter of a head of another company. So
okay, my queer animation ears have pricked up. So
a monarchy deep down inside.
Okay,
marrying the kingdoms together.
Yeah, it's worse than that. She's actually she's one of the prizes of the duel. So she's to be married to the chief duelist in the school as such.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Goes a bit feudal.
I should note, and it should, that call out for members of the committee, especially younger members of the committee who really want to get involved in the industry, people who joining the committee, because Gundam is the only anime on this list, other than Pantheon as well, but we haven't seen Pantheon. We're a bunch of old white people. Let's if you want a fresh take on things terms of we're although my students would say that I am biased, I think we kind of need some fresh blood and
absolutely, especially in the anime quadrant, because I've got some, but I'm an old school anime fan. I watch Vinland Saga, which is probably the newest thing that I watch. I love my Gundam, but yeah, there's a lot, like Spy X Family's not here, and it really should be. None of us have really sort of got into it. Attack on Titan, we can argue that one, because I'm not sure how the last series
is that still going?
Yeah, it's still going.
All I know of that, it's naked robots, naked giants. Sorry.
Well, it's got a lot more. It's got a lot more complicated, and we've seen a major character do what could be construed as a face heel turn, and it's got very communing with the gods sort of. It's got very spiritual and weird, and it started off pretty weird to begin with. So yeah.
So yes. If you want to see an injection of more things relevant to your world, apply for the committee. Come and influence us and convince us to watch this stuff, because
that's it.
We're like any other viewing people with minimal time. We grab things that pique our interest, and whatever's recommended to us. Okay. So let's start with the top 5. And of course, 4 and 5 are together, sort of an equal ranking. So it's like 4.5 for both of them. Ha! The reason, the reason being, we're through Star Trek's both series together, just because we couldn't really decide which one of them deserved to be on this list.
It's weird because they both do separate things, but they both do them well. Prodigy's a great leaping on point for Star Trek. Lower Decks is fantastic for the fans because it's very referential and plays on that knowledge basis.
Prodigy's for younger audiences, though, actually gets quite deep into Star Trek lore as it goes through the season, and it's although it seems disrespectful initially of Star Trek, it actually really, really heavily rolls with classic Star Trek, and once you're dealing with Janeway, it becomes
avoidable
all the way. Yeah,
which is great, and it's also one of those that grows significantly as it goes along. The first couple of episodes, the setup is a bit slow and stilted, but as it goes along, it becomes one of the better first. It does one of the rare Star Trek things, which is a solid first season of Star Trek, which I think there's only 3 or 4 of the entirety.
Yeah,
and 2 of those are on that page.
It's true. First seasons of Star Trek generally are trash. Lower Decks.
Strange New Worlds wasn't.
That's the third one, and
it had a few duds, but it was pretty good.
And I guess we're going to be including the original series as the only other contestant, and that's even a few people.
Over Deep Space Nine.
It had a few prior. Well, no, it had no prior expectations. The original series.
True. Yes, Lucille Ball had her head on straight when she put that into.
Yeah, but Prodigy, exceptional leap on point for kids. It's more child friendly version of Trek, but it's also great character development and good for adults. Lower Decks is possibly one of my favorite Treks. I think it might even be my favorite Trek. It's amazing. Yeah. It is the workplace comedy of Trek, and it makes a few big swings this season that some of them pay off, some of them don't. It dumps the setup from season 2 in the first episode in a very unexpected way to create a completely different season arc than we were expecting, which puts it at a bad point to begin with, I think, in the first couple of episodes, because it has to re-find its footing. But you get things like an episode entirely dedicated to the redemption arc of a minor character from season 2 called Peanut Hamper, who, when faced with the hero's call to action, decided to teleport out of there and leave them on their own. I say season 2, it's actually season 1 from.
Are you using the words redemption arc ironically?
I am trying not to spoil that, but yes, I am.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the other thing I think that really makes Lower Decks is it's probably the most community and worker-orientated take on Trek. Star Trek's always had this kind of tilt towards exceptional individualism and character-centric episodes. And although we do get that in Lower Decks, the solutions are often found by the whole rather than just the parts. Especially the final episode. You get Boimler's moment of courage where he stands up and says the security chief should actually be listened to, and then that beautiful moment where they eject the warp core. You get the entirety of the California class, the joke of Starfleet, making an appearance and just kicking ass, and it is beautiful. It is one of those tear-inducing moments.
It manages to push Star Trek in weird directions and still remain 100% loyal to Star Trek that had come before.
It is incredibly Trek and incredibly referential to Trek, but it knows how far it can push that boundary.
One of the things you run into potentially across Prodigy is the main character of Prodigy is a little bit rough around the edges, hard to deal with. He's definitely that young, smart aleck type character type. Yeah, which is
initially he's actually hateful. You just don't like him as a character.
Yeah, and it does take a fairly solid arc to bring him into the fold, and I'm curious to see where they go with the next season because they've really lifted the story in that regard. So we'll see how we go. Okay, on to next. Dun, 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 dun. No more Star Trek. The Legend of Vox Machina Season 1. Yes.
D&D is cartoon.
Yes, D&D nerds unite. The Critical Role team ran the original campaign or televised it through YouTube. Twitched it. What's the word for that? Cast it? No. What are we doing?
Broadcast. It's like
what is this technology? It's
so
they streamed it. There you go.
That's the word that I was looking for. Thank you, Lindsay. They streamed it for about 120 episodes. Their first, but taking their characters from level 8 through to level 20, all the way through, and some big epic story arcs. So the first season deals with sort of an intro story arc, which was created specifically for the show to introduce the characters and to set up following story arcs. And the second half of season 1 follows their first main character-driven story arc, the Briarwood arc, which is about Percy, the character with white hair there, the tall gentleman, going back and trying to reclaim his family home and his noble heritage. So, and dealing with the usurpers who took over his kingdom. It's actually really nice and quite emotionally hitting. I think it lacks some of the emotional moments that the stream did. Like, there's a lot more time invested in the D&D game and the stream. You just 120 episodes at 4 hours each is a little hard to get through. It's and plus I don't know about other people watching.
You have to be keen, I guess.
I like watching the streaming D&D games for the role playing, and watching them go through D&D combat is just I just want to stop. So I tend to fast forward through combat and try and get to the role playing bits where the characters are talking back and forth. But I'm a role playing nerd, so that definitely falls on that.
I don't know. I imagine live D&D coverage on broadcasts would be like being strapped to a board and forced to watch 5-day cricket.
No, it's
lots of stats and not much going on for
no.
time.
So the background of this D&D group, Lens, is that they're all voice actors who've been working in games and animation. So they've all got like acting and character experience. So when they do dive into the role playing side of things, the improvisation, all of that is definitely ramped up. But
so straight away,
when you're dealing with the rolling back and forth of dice for a combat, it just bogs down a little bit and it's a little bit rough.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially it's the spontaneity and not knowing. So it's like a live performance, but no one improvised live performance.
So what they did was they boiled down I think it's like a 10 episode arc of their live stream, so about 40 hours of footage, down to a single animated season. And they've tightened it up, and they've shortened some story arcs, and they've made compromises to make the story work across that. They've done a really good job of it. The animation is quite nice. It's definitely riffing on that modern post-anime American style that definitely references that sort of thing. They've got pretty solid crew at Titmouse working on their animation and their design and style. And they've given a lot of credence to the fan art and stuff that was done during the live streams that is sort of carried through, and the designs of the characters. It's really, really nice things. The guy who ran the game, Matt Mercer, there's always a character that looks like Matt in every single episode, who either gets killed off or gets treated in a terrible way through the whole thing. But Matt does a few of the other characters' voices, but specifically characters that he played during the main game that had an ethnic background of some kind, or were women, or were trans, or something like that. They've hired actors of that demographic to fill that role. So the main one is Matt's favorite character, Sean Gilmore, is the one he loves playing the most as the games master. Has an ethnic background, and he gave up that role that he loves so much just to legitimately represent that culture within his world. So it's quite nice. But yeah, so it's good. Story arc is great, and the main bad guys are pretty awesome. The Briarwoods as you come through. So very, very nice. Go on.
From a story point of view, because some of the results are from random happenstance, things that would not come from a normal plotted story. You get some left turns thrown in there that you weren't expecting by simple objects such as a door or something like that, and you actually get an episode of the heroes being incapable of getting through a door for almost half an episode, and it's just hilarious to watch.
Dave and I have our own home game, and that's pretty much us as well. So, yes. However, we're I I think we don't elevate the character role playing to the level of the critical role too.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, so
what's next?
Vox Machina. On to the next slide, which is the Owl House. So if you're watching Disney Plus, you might have seen the Owl House pop up. There's some small, interesting animations that have sort of snuck in. I have to admit that I heard about the Owl House purely from the queer clique of my students raving about it, how awesome, how representative it was, and how great the characters are. And so it took me a little while to get around to it. I basically binged it over 2 days, the entire first and second season. It was a great watch. The premise, the story is a young girl who falls into a fantasy world and ends up getting trained by a local witch who is enamored with things that come from Earth. So she kind of collects the young girl. So, but yeah, there's a lot more going on. There's a bit of a deep story arc.
Season 2 does see that expanded.
So
more behind it.
So yeah, first season is a bit of an introduction to all of that. The second season is actually quite your epic story, and it deals with the characters' conflicts quite well. So probably the thing to watch out is the little demon character King. His story arc is quite so there's a lot of cool arcs that I won't spoil for you because it is good.
That looks interesting. I mean, the character design looks interesting. I know nothing about this. This is an unexpected pleasure.
Oh, and definitely.
Looks very Gravity Falls, actually. Same stable. But it's got quite a unique style, which I kind of like. They've actually developed something quite interesting here.
In terms of queer representation, it's very LGBTI plus A plus friendly, and there's queer characters all through. There's a queer romance story arc, like on Disney, which is
They're just keeping up with the rest of us, really.
Oh well, they're a little bit behind, but
rest of the culture and the civilization as it rumbles on.
Yes. But yeah, what do you have to say about it, Dave? You binged it just after I did. So.
Yeah, I have, and it is great. It is a great series. It falls well into those sort of emotional IQ series that we've been watching, like Steven Universe and Infinity Train, and also having that great queer representation as well. It's interesting. Season 1 is world building. Season 2, it expands that world building, but you're moving out of the central town and you're getting the bigger story and the bigger danger that is about to happen. And season 3, it's cut down to 3 episodes, and that's starting to be released now. I think episode 2 is available on Disney YouTube. If you take a look, hopefully we'll get to see it on Disney Plus in Australia very soon. And yeah, it is an amazing series. It's well worth the watch. It is that sort of, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls sort of, we should even Adventure Time, we should be watching this now sort of series.
Yeah, it's definitely that. I'm looking forward to the 3rd season, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, for only 3 episodes, but they're 3 movie length episodes, so
yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so
yeah,
we'll get to it.
It looks good. I'm going to have to sign up to a few things or briefly.
Yeah.
I think Stan and Disney are my most likely ones at the moment. Paramount's looking close.
You can always talk to us for a list of potential viewing links.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Build up my schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Our number 1 spot.
Which is almost impossible to see in Australia at the moment.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah, look, there is streaming sessions, 24-hour streaming sessions of it at, I think it was Cartoon Network. This month was doing that for Primal, and yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Primal!
So, yeah, Kenny Tarkovsky's Primal. Season 2.
From the instant I watched the first episode, I fell in love with this series. Minimal dialogue. The character design is awesomely intense. It's definitely riffing off, your sword and sorcery with a little bit of eldritch horror, Conan stories, and and
season 2 especially.
Yeah. Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Spear actually picks up a sword.
Oh. Cool. Nice. yeah, so it's really, really nice. There's an awesome unspoken relationship that is visually done with Fang and Spear. That feels great. Their character arcs work. It's just a really nicely made series. Simple character design. Though every line is deliberate and looks amazing. Like they do some great things, and they do some batshit crazy stuff. Batshit being actually literate. Yeah.
That simple character design leads into Tarkovsky's sort of emphasis on action and movement. So he streamlines the design. He's capable of getting movement done in such a smooth, beautiful way that he can prioritize the action sequences if he needs to. And in something that's reliant on visual storytelling and is a fairly violent and occasionally gory story that it's telling, and it's at its heart of it. It doesn't slow down. It is great, fantastic. It's a masterwork. It's something that we're going to be talking about years to come, I think.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I look at all this stuff with Primal, and I've seen a couple of episodes already, and it kept reminding me of the old the Fleischer Superman cartoons. I have a feeling this thing's going to be around for at least 50 years.
Yeah,
it's be one of those must-sees for all people that want to get into this sort of stuff.
It's something we rarely see. It's the work of an auteur, and I know he's not solely responsible for it. There's directors of other episodes. He hasn't directed every episode of the season.
But he's sort of setting the tone and the direction.
It's his. Definitely, there's a heavy amount of love that's been put into the series by Genndy Tartakovsky, because you look at his shows that came before, and so Dexter's Lab is a great show. But he's working towards something, and then you start seeing inklings of it during the 2D animated Clone Wars series. And if you liked the animation of that and wanted to see it basically pushed 15 years later into something that is beautiful as well as intense, there's definitely emotional weight to this, where there's not much dialogue. There's it's just great visuals and emotion, and you can see it across the entire
the main character says one word at the end of season 1, and we are almost shocked by that. We're shocked by hearing any dialogue, which comes again at the end episode of season 1 from a different character. Season 2 has a lot more dialogue throughout, with the exception of one episode. None of it's in English, none of it's translated. You see a variety of different landscapes and different people. The languages they're speaking are not translated whatsoever.
Nice. So good.
Yeah.
It's it's animation for animators. It's so gorgeous.
And those emotional beats are definitely there, absolutely scattered throughout this. We get a tragic love story from a dinosaur's point of view in this season, which is something you just don't expect. But here we are.
It's and probably, although it definitely riffs on those sword and sorcery themes and the Conan style,
heavy metal.
Early Conan heavy metal. It's got that emotional depth, and it's very mature. Expect to feel things as you're going through this series. It's going to be one of my favorites for a long time. And when the first season came out, I was just mind blown.
And it is incredibly violent. Don't get us wrong. It is very violent and very gory in places, but it deserves to be. It's aware of it. and it has an interesting discussion about that. It's not just mindless. It knows what it's doing. It's very aware of the effects it's doing, and it has this very interesting discussion about what is the effect of violence, especially in season 2, episodes like Red Mist and what Fang and Spear become. It really does make you think and wonder about character motivations and expectations of a hero. It's something.
Awesome. Well, if we jump on to the next slide, we're at the end of the podcast. Oh. However, is there anything that any of you would like to say before we log into the nether? Is there something that you've watched or something that we should look out for recently? In terms of like grand special effects, Ant-Man's out, so there's some cool CG characters in there. Check it out because it's set in the quantum universe. So taking Ant-Man where the quantum universe has been mentioned as a theoretical place, then a potential threat, and now a place that they're actually exploring across 3 episodes over the 3-story arc. It's a little bit grander in scope and probably not what you'd expect from Ant-Man. Okay, I wouldn't say that it doesn't feel like the first 2 Ant-Man films, but because it is the quantum universe, it has to be Ant-Man. Obviously they're setting up the grand villain Kang, who, as has been said, is a kind of a poor man's Thanos, but we'll see where we're going.
No motivation. You get the weird sort of introduction in the Loki series of his possible endpoint.
But aren't they all pale imitations of the original one, Darkseid by Jack Kirby?
Well,
throwing it out there, just a character. Like God knows what the DC universe is going to do with it. But
actually, speaking of which, since we chatted last, the DC slate has been announced, including several animated projects. One being Creature Commandos, which is like a 1940s, 50s Hollywood style monsters like vampires, Medusas, and werewolves joined together to fight Nazis. So they're doing an animated series of the Creature Commandos, which is I'm curious to see where it goes. It's being written by James Gunn, who does know how to pull an ensemble together and does know how to do weird. We'll see whether it's maybe more than he's bit, maybe he's bit off more than he can chew, but I'm curious to see where it's going. And there's the rest of the DC slate has some interesting things going on for live action. We definitely don't want this to become a superhero podcast, so we'll probably wrap it up there.
Okay, for anime fans, YouTube's releasing Gundam Witch from Mercury episodes slowly. Although they're all out in Japan, they're only slowly being released in Australia, but they are at least being released on YouTube to watch in Australia. And for Netflix, Vinland Saga Season 2 is continuing, a fantastic series, so keep watching that.
Okay.
Got anything you've been watching, Lens?
Oh, just catching up with a huge backlog of stuff, really. I must say, my favourite track at the moment would have to be Strange New Worlds. I was surprised.
Yes,
but that's live action, really. So
true.
Lots of CGI. And all very
however, Boimler and
Next is doing crossover,
yeah, they're doing a crossover into Strange New World Season 2. So the animated characters will be seen in live action in Strange New Worlds. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it and how they're going to do it. So the voice of Boimler is Jack. I forget what his last name is. He plays the young guy in The Boys. And so he'll be playing the live action version of Boimler in Strange New Worlds. So, we're very curious how they do that. So, it's definitely going to be an interesting couple of episodes. At least we know that Strange New Worlds can handle weird. Based on the last season, but yeah. And my last thing is check out Koala Man, people. Australian animation. Do it. Do it.
The peer pressure is great in this one.
It's just it's chef kiss level embarrassing Australian. The cultural cringe is so you could drink it. Literally Koala Man goes up against a villain called the Tall Poppy in the first episode.
Take you down.
Yes.
Oh my god, that sounds great.
And you'll learn about the red hot rule, which is how Australia deals with being 8 hours in the future. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, as everyone knows, we're all sworn to secrecy on that one.
Yes, we are sworn to secrecy on that one. So,
that's it.
Cool. Anyway, I think we can wrap up. So it's going to be goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And I'll see you next time. Catch you later.
And thank you very much for joining us for the Lightbox podcast. And I'm going to stop it now before I keep rambling. Where is the off button? Oh, there it is. Okay, see you.